The Drowning Man. A. Frank Murray Investigation, Season 2, Episode 3. Narrated by Frank Murray, private investigator. Water is patient. It waits in lakes and rivers and oceans, perfectly still on the surface while currents move beneath. It holds secrets in its depths, bodies, evidence, truth. And when someone drowns, water is often the perfect accomplice, erasing fingerprints, washing away evidence, making murder look like accident. The name's Frank Murray, and I've been a private investigator for 16 years. I've investigated murders staged as suicides, accidents, natural causes. But I'd never investigated a drowning before. Never thought about how easy it would be to push someone off a boat, watch them sink, and let the water do the rest. That changed when Rebecca Walsh walked into Murray & Murray Investigations. It was a Thursday morning, 3 weeks after we closed the hospital murders case. Sarah and I were reviewing financials, the mundane reality of running a small business, when our newest client arrived. Rebecca Walsh was 32, worked as an architect, and carried the kind of grief that comes from losing someone suddenly and violently. She sat down across from my desk and got straight to the point. 3 weeks ago, my father drowned. Police say it was an accident, that he fell off his boat while fishing, hit his head, and went under before he could swim to safety. But Mr. Murray, my father was an experienced sailor. He'd been boating for 40 years. He wouldn't just fall overboard. "Tell me what happened," I said, pulling out my notebook. My father, Thomas Walsh, was 68 years old, retired naval officer, lived on his boat half the year, knew the marina and the bay like the back of his hand. 3 weeks ago, he took his boat out early morning for fishing like he did every Sunday. When he didn't return by evening, marina security went looking. They found his boat drifting 2 miles offshore, engine running, no one on board. And they found his body? 2 days later, washed up on a beach 5 miles south. The medical examiner said he drowned. There was a head injury consistent with hitting the boat railing. The police concluded he lost his balance, fell, hit his head, and couldn't swim back to the boat. "That seems like a reasonable conclusion," Sarah said gently. "Accidents on boats happen, even to experienced sailors." "Except my father was wearing his life jacket when they found him," Rebecca said, her voice tight. "He always wore it when alone on the boat. Always. And a life jacket doesn't let you drown from a simple fall overboard, even with a head injury. You'd float. Someone would see you. The Coast Guard patrols those waters." That detail changed everything. A man wearing a life jacket doesn't just drown from falling off a boat. Did the police investigate this as a potential homicide? They said the life jacket must have been damaged or not properly fastened. But I checked. The jacket was intact, properly secured. They just didn't want to investigate. Easier to call an accident than admit someone might have murdered a retired naval officer. Who would want to kill your father? Rebecca pulled out a file folder thick with documents. "That's what I need you to find out. Because 2 weeks before he died, my father came to me worried. Said he'd discovered something at the marina, something involving money and illegal activity. He wouldn't tell me details. Said he needed to verify information first. He was going to go to the authorities. Then he died before he could." "What kind of illegal activity?" "I don't know. He mentioned the marina, smuggling, and large amounts of cash. That's all he told me before saying he needed more evidence. Mr. Murray, my father was murdered to silence him. I'm sure of it. And whoever killed him is still at the marina, still operating, still getting away with murder." After Rebecca left, Sarah and I reviewed the police report on Thomas Walsh's death. It was perfunctory, accidental drowning, no signs of foul play. Case closed. The medical examiner noted the head injury, the water in his lungs, the time in the water consistent with drowning 2 to 3 days before the body was found. Nothing suspicious on paper, just another boating accident. "The life jacket bothers me," I said, reading through the evidence photos. If it was properly secured and intact, Walsh should have floated even unconscious from a head injury. "Unless someone held him underwater," Sarah said darkly. or weighted him down and removed the weights after he drowned, which would be impossible to prove 3 weeks later with the body already buried and no physical evidence. So we investigate the marina, find out what Walsh discovered, who might have wanted him dead, and build a case from there. I called Miles Danforth. Miles, I need background on Harborview Marina, ownership, finances, any criminal connections or investigations. Give me a day, Miles said. Marinas are sometimes fronts for smuggling operations. If Walsh stumbled onto something, it could be drugs, weapons, human trafficking. Any of those would be worth killing to protect. Harborview Marina was on the south side of the bay, a sprawling facility with 200 boat slips, a yacht club, repair services, and a restaurant. It catered to wealthy boat owners and serious fishermen, the kind of place where million-dollar yachts sat next to working fishing vessels. Sarah and I arrived posing as a couple interested in buying a boat slip. The marina manager, a man named Carl Rodriguez, gave us a tour. Harborview is one of the finest marinas on the coast, Rodriguez said, walking us down the docks. We offer full services, maintenance, storage, fuel, pump-out stations. Our security is excellent. Our facilities are top tier, and our community is like family. We heard about the accident a few weeks ago. I said carefully, a man who drowned. That must have been terrible. Rodriguez's expression clouded. Tom Walsh. Yes, that was tragic. He was a fixture here, knew everyone, loved being on the water. The kind of accident that reminds us how dangerous the ocean can be. How well did you know him? Very well. Tom had a slip here for 12 years. Great guy, always helpful, would lend tools or expertise to anyone who needed it. The marina feels emptier without him. Did he seem worried or upset about anything before he died? Rodriguez paused, studying me more carefully. You're not really here to buy a boat slip, are you? I'm a private investigator. Tom's daughter hired me to look into his death. The police said it was an accident. His daughter thinks it was murder. Rodriguez looked around, checking if anyone was within earshot. Come to my office. We should talk privately. Rodriguez's office was in the marina's main building, overlooking the docks through large windows. He closed the door and blinds before speaking. Tom came to me about a month before he died, Rodriguez said quietly. He said he'd noticed irregularities in the marina's overnight guest slips, boats that would dock late at night, stay for a few hours, and leave before dawn. Always paid cash, never registered properly, never the same boat twice. Smuggling, Sarah said. That's what Tom thought. He started watching, documenting. He took photos of the boats, recorded license numbers, tracked patterns. He thought someone at the marina was facilitating illegal operations, letting smugglers use our facilities for a fee. Did he tell you who? He suspected Marcus Webb, the assistant marina manager. Webb works night shifts, handles late arrivals, has access to the security systems. Tom thought Webb was taking cash payments to let smugglers dock without proper registration, then deleting security footage to cover the visits. Marcus Webb. That name kept appearing in my cases. Different people, but always someone named Marcus Webb. The universe had a dark sense of humor. Where's Webb now? He's here, working. Tom planned to confront him with evidence, then go to the Coast Guard, but he died before he could. And after his death, the suspicious boat traffic stopped completely, like whoever was behind it knew they'd been discovered and shut down the operation. Or killed the witness and went dormant until things cooled down, I said. Mr. Murray, I run a legitimate marina. If there's criminal activity happening here, I want it stopped. But I can't accuse my assistant manager of facilitating smuggling and murder without proof. That's why I'm talking to you. Where can we find Webb? Dock office, slip C40. But be careful. If he really is involved in smuggling and killed Tom to cover it up, he's dangerous. Marcus Webb was in his late 40s, whether from years of outdoor work, with the kind of wary eyes that come from seeing too much and trusting too little. He was reviewing dock assignments when we approached. Marcus Webb. I said, showing my PI license. Frank Murray, private investigator. This is my partner, Sarah Murray. We're investigating the death of Thomas Walsh. Webb's expression didn't change. Tom's death was an accident. Police closed the case. His daughter doesn't think so. She thinks Tom was murdered because he discovered illegal activity at this marina. Illegal activity? Webb repeated flatly. Like what? Smuggling. Boats docking late at night, paying cash, leaving before dawn. Tom was documenting it. He thought you were facilitating it. Tom was paranoid, bored retiree who spent too much time watching boats and imagining conspiracies. There's no smuggling operation here. Then you won't mind us reviewing security footage from the night Tom died. Can't. System had a malfunction that week. Lost 3 days of footage. Convenient, Sarah said. Webb stood up, his posture aggressive. You're accusing me of murder based on the paranoid theories of a dead man and a coincidental system failure. Unless you have actual evidence, I suggest you leave before I call security. We left the dock office, but my instincts were screaming. Webb was hiding something. The question was what, and whether it connected to Tom Walsh's death. Miles called that evening with background on the marina and Marcus Webb. Harborview Marina is owned by a corporation called Pacific Properties, LLC, which is owned by another shell corporation, which is owned by, you guessed it, layers of corporate obfuscation. Tracking the actual ownership is nearly impossible without subpoenas. What about Webb? Interesting guy. Former Coast Guard. Dishonorably discharged 8 years ago for smuggling cigarettes using Coast Guard vessels. Served 2 years in federal prison. Got out, went straight into marina work. He's been at Harborview for 5 years. So he has smuggling experience and Coast Guard knowledge. Perfect resume for facilitating illegal maritime operations. There's more. Webb's bank records show regular cash deposits. $5,000 here, $10,000 there. Never enough to trigger automatic reporting, but adding up to about $200,000 over the last year. That's way more than his marina salary would explain. He's getting paid for something. Probably letting smugglers use the marina. And if Tom Walsh discovered it and was going to expose him, that's motive for murder. But motive wasn't proof. We needed evidence connecting Webb to Tom's death, and that meant finding out what happened on Tom's boat that Sunday morning 3 weeks ago. I went to visit the medical examiner who'd handled Tom Walsh's autopsy. Dr. Patricia Brennan was in her 60s, thorough and professional, not someone who'd miss obvious signs of foul play. The drowning was straightforward, Dr. Brennan told me, reviewing her report. Water in the lungs, head trauma consistent with striking a hard surface, time of death estimated between 8 and 11 a.m. on the day he went missing. Everything pointed to accidental drowning. What about the life jacket? It was intact and properly secured. That did strike me as odd. You'd expect someone wearing a functioning life jacket to float even if unconscious. But I attributed it to the head injury being severe enough to cause immediate loss of consciousness, combined with unfavorable currents that could have pulled him under despite the flotation device. Could someone have held him underwater? Physically forced him to drown even with the life jacket? Dr. Brennan considered. Theoretically, yes. But there were no defensive wounds, no signs of struggle, nothing to suggest someone forcibly drowned him. If it was murder, it was very carefully done. What if he was unconscious when he went in the water, hit on the head on the boat, then pushed overboard already unconscious? That would fit the evidence. The head injury could have been inflicted before he entered the water, but proving it 3 weeks later, with the body already buried, would be nearly impossible without additional evidence. I thanked Dr. Brennan and left with confirmation that Tom's death could have been murder disguised as accident. Now I needed to prove it. Sarah and I decided to stake out the marina at night, watching for the suspicious boat traffic Tom had documented. If the smuggling operation had resumed, we'd catch it in action and connect it back to Webb. We set up surveillance from a rental boat in a neighboring slip, using night vision equipment Miles provided. For 3 nights, we watched the marina. Normal traffic, legitimate boats coming and going, nothing suspicious. On the fourth night, at 2 a.m., a fishing trawler entered the marina without running lights. It moved slowly, deliberately, heading for the guest slips near where Webb's office was located. "That's our smuggler," Sarah whispered, recording video with the night vision camera. The trawler docked at slip C, 47. Minutes later, a figure emerged from the dock office. Marcus Webb. Even at 2 a.m., right on schedule. He met someone from the trawler, and we watched through night vision as they unloaded containers from the boat. "Can you see what's in containers?" I asked. "Too dark, too far. But they're heavy. Takes 2 people to carry each one. And they're moving them into a warehouse building at the end of the dock." We watched for 30 minutes as they unloaded a dozen containers. Then the trawler left as silently as it had arrived, and Webb returned to his office. "We got evidence of smuggling," Sarah said, "but we still don't have proof Webb killed Tom Walsh." "Not yet, but if we can get into that warehouse, see what's in those containers, we can connect Webb to serious crimes. That gives us leverage to pressure him about Tom's death." Breaking into a warehouse on marina property is illegal. So is smuggling and murder. We'll be careful. We waited until 4 a.m. when Webb's office lights went off and his truck left the marina. Then we approached the warehouse. The lock was standard commercial grade. Miles had taught me basic lockpicking years ago, and I had it open in 2 minutes. Sarah and I entered carefully, flashlights cutting through darkness. The warehouse was filled with containers like the ones we'd seen unloaded. We opened one carefully. Inside were packages wrapped in plastic. Sarah opened one and immediately stepped back. "Fentanyl," she said, her voice tight. "Industrial quantities. This isn't small-time smuggling. Frank, this is major drug trafficking." We photographed everything, documented the containers, and got out of the warehouse before anyone discovered us. Back in our rental boat, Sarah called her contacts at the DEA. "This is bigger than a PI case," she said. "We need federal agencies involved." But before she could make the call, my phone rang. Unknown number. "Frank Murray." I answered. "Mr. Murray." Marcus Webb's voice, cold and controlled. "I know you broke into my warehouse. I know what you saw. And I know you're about to make a very big mistake." "How did you—" "Security cameras in the warehouse. Triggered when you picked the lock. I've been watching you since you got here. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to forget what you saw, get in your car, and leave town. Or you're going to end up like Tom Walsh, an accidental drowning that no one will question. You killed him. You killed Tom Walsh because he discovered your smuggling operation. Tom was a nosy old man who couldn't mind his own business. He took photos, gathered evidence, was going to bring down an operation worth millions. I did what was necessary. You murdered him. I solved the problem. Tom came to me that Sunday morning, confronted me with his evidence, threatened to go to the Coast Guard. We went out on his boat to talk it over. I hit him with a wrench, pushed him overboard, and watched him drown. The life jacket kept him floating, so I held him under until the bubbles stopped. Then I left him to drift and took his boat back to dock on autopilot. Simple, clean, untraceable. You're confessing to murder. Webb laughed. You're not recording this call. There's no witness. It's your word against mine, and I'll deny everything. Meanwhile, you're trespassing on marina property with stolen evidence. How do you think that looks? The DEA is about to raid your warehouse. Your operation is done, Webb. Then I'd better disappear. But first, I'm going to tie up loose ends, starting with you. The call ended. Sarah and I looked at each other. He's coming for us, Sarah said. We need to get out of here. Now. We started the rental boat's engine, but it wouldn't turn over. We tried again. Nothing. Webb had disabled it while we were in the warehouse. We're trapped, I said, looking at the dark marina around us. That's when we heard another engine, a larger boat, moving toward our position. Webb, coming to finish what he'd started. Sarah immediately radioed the DEA contact she'd been about to call. This is Detective Sarah Murray, LAPD. We have an active threat at Harbor View Marina. Suspect is armed and approaching our position. We need immediate backup." "Backup is 20 minutes out," came the response. We didn't have 20 minutes. The boat approaching was Webb's personal fishing vessel, bigger, faster, and currently boxing us in against the dock. Webb stood at the helm, and I could see he was holding something. A gun, probably, or worse. "We need to get off this boat," I said, looking around desperately. The dock was 20 feet away. We could swim for it, but that left us exposed and vulnerable. Sarah had her service weapon out, or we stay and face him. He's got the advantage, bigger boat, better position, and he's willing to kill. So am I, if it means protecting you. The fishing vessel pulled alongside our rental boat. Webb appeared at the railing, holding a rifle. "Mr. and Mrs. Murray, I really wish you'd taken my advice and left." "Put down the weapon, Webb," Sarah called out, her badge visible, her gun aimed at him. "LAPD and DEA are en route. You're already facing murder charges. Don't add cop killing to the list. They won't make it in time. And when they find your bodies, it'll look like you drowned trying to escape after being caught trespassing. Tragic accident, just like Tom Walsh." He aimed the rifle. Sarah fired first. The shot hit Webb in the shoulder, spinning him backward. He dropped the rifle, which clattered to the deck of his boat. But he didn't go down. He lunged for the rifle, blood streaming from his shoulder. Sarah fired again, hitting his leg. Webb collapsed, cursing, clutching his wounds. "Stay down," Sarah shouted, her weapon still trained on him. Webb looked at her with hatred. "You're going to regret this. I regret not shooting you before you killed Tom Walsh." Coast Guard and DEA boats arrived 10 minutes later, lights blazing, engines roaring. They secured Webb, provided medical attention for his gunshot wounds, and took control of the scene. We gave statements for 3 hours, explaining the investigation, the confession, the warehouse full of fentanyl, and Webb's attempted murder. The DEA raided the warehouse, seized the drugs, and began working backwards through the supply chain. Marcus Webb was arrested and charged with murder in the first degree, Thomas Walsh, drug trafficking, attempted murder of law enforcement officers, Sarah, and a dozen other federal crimes. His confession to me wasn't recorded, but Sarah had witnessed it, and combined with the evidence we'd gathered, the case against him was solid. We met with Rebecca Walsh a week later to update her on the investigation. "Your father was right," I told her. "There was illegal activity at the marina. Major drug smuggling operation. Tom discovered it, confronted the person responsible, and was murdered to keep him quiet." "Who killed him?" "Marcus Webb, the assistant marina manager. He confessed to me before trying to kill Sarah and me. He's in federal custody now, facing life without parole." Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "My father died trying to do the right thing, trying to stop criminals." "He did stop them," Sarah said gently. "The smuggling operation is shut down, the drugs are seized, and the person responsible for his death is facing justice. Your father's evidence, his documentation, it all helped us build the case. He didn't die for nothing. Will you testify at the trial?" "Absolutely. We'll make sure Webb never sees freedom again." After Rebecca left, Sarah and I sat in our office processing everything that had happened. "That's 13, Sarah said. 13 what?" 13 times I've saved your life. The marina shootout makes 13. If I hadn't shot Webb when I did, he would have killed you. So I owe you my life 13 times over. You owe me 13 very expensive dinners. I'm keeping a list. Despite everything, the danger, the violence, the close call with death, I smiled. Where would I be without you? Dead in a marina, probably, or at the bottom of the bay, or shot by a drug smuggler. So, basically, you're the only reason I'm still alive. Pretty much. You're welcome. The trial for Marcus Webb took 6 months. He pleaded not guilty, claimed self-defense, said Tom Walsh had attacked him, and the drowning was accidental. His lawyers argued that the confession to me was fabricated, that the gunshot wounds Sarah inflicted were excessive force, that the evidence was obtained illegally through our warehouse break-in. None of it worked. The jury heard testimony from Rebecca about her father's concerns, from Carl Rodriguez about the suspicious boat traffic, from a medical examiner about the drowning that didn't quite fit accident parameters. Sarah and I testified about Webb's confession, about his attempt to murder us, about finding the warehouse full of drugs. The DEA presented evidence of a massive fentanyl trafficking operation that had been moving through Harborview Marina for 2 years. Millions of dollars in drugs, connections to cartels, a network that extended across 3 states. Marcus Webb was found guilty on all counts. Murder in the first degree for Thomas Walsh. Attempted murder of law enforcement officers. Drug trafficking. Conspiracy. Smuggling. Life without possibility of parole, plus 60 years. As they led him from the courtroom, Webb looked at me one last time. "You got lucky, Murray. Next time you won't." "There won't be a next time," I said. "You'll die in prison. Someone else will come for you. You make too many enemies, investigate too many things. Eventually, your luck runs out." Maybe he was right. Maybe investigating dangerous criminals for 16 years meant I'd eventually meet one I couldn't outsmart or outfight. But that was future Frank's problem. Present Frank had solved another case, brought another killer to justice, and survived another near-death experience thanks to Sarah. We closed the case file on Marcus Webb and Thomas Walsh. One murder solved, one major drug operation dismantled, one family finally getting closure. The phone rang with our next case. I answered on the second ring. Murray and Murray Investigations. Frank Murray speaking. "Mr. Murray, my name is Jennifer Ross. My sister disappeared 6 months ago. The police think she ran away, but I know she didn't. I know something terrible happened to her. And I think the person responsible is still out there, waiting to hurt someone else. Can you help me?" I grabbed a pen and paper. "Tell me everything. Because that's what we do. We investigate when others stop looking. We solve drownings that weren't accidents. We expose drug smugglers hiding behind legitimate businesses. We give families closure when the system gives up. The name's Frank Murray. I work with my wife Sarah Murray at Murray and Murray Investigations. We've solved 13 major cases now, 3 in Season 2, 10 in Season 1. We face mercy killers, inheritance conspiracies, hospital murderers, and drug smugglers who kill witnesses. I'm not rich. I'm not famous. Most of our cases still involve routine investigations. But sometimes, just sometimes, we get to solve a drowning that everyone else called an accident. We get to expose a major drug operation. We get to prove that a retired naval officer died a hero trying to stop criminals. And we do it together. Because Sarah's right. Without her, I'd be dead 13 times over. She's saved my life, solved cases with me, and become the partner I never knew I needed. This is Season 2, Episode 3, and we're just getting started. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe, and ring the bell. Murray and Murray Investigations continues with more complex cases, dangerous criminals, and investigations that put Frank and Sarah's lives on the line. From inheritance traps to hospital murders to drownings that weren't accidents, we solve the cases that matter. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next investigation.